Welcome to Fun Facts and News. Nowadays, talking about the mafia seems like ancient history, but back in the early 1960s to the late 90s, they had a very much strong influence. The mafia, known for their gruesome killings, extortion and kidnappings, very much had a stigma attached to themselves. The whole mafia organization revolves around making money, and in those days celebrities were often targeted. During a 2011 interview with former drug trafficker turned informant, John Roberts, he then claimed to have rescued the rock musician Jimi Hendrix. Before Roberts cooperated with authorities, he managed to transport $15 billion worth of cocaine for the Medellin cartel during the 1980s. In the 60s, Roberts wasn't much but a foot soldier making his way up the rank in New York City, before moving to Miami where he began trafficking drugs. During his running round, Roberts, who went by John Rico Bono at that time before changing it to flee the cops, he then met the young and famous Jimi Hendrix at a Manhattan nightclub. Jimi, who was heavy on drugs at the time, became very fond of Roberts and normally hangs out at his place to get away from it all and get high. During a 2011 interview, Roberts stated, Jimi was going out searching for drugs and normally got into trouble. Jimi friends normally buy dope for him, but sometimes he'd get so sick, he'd go out looking for drugs on his own. He said, one night Jimi went into Roberts' club looking for drugs, only to run into two mafia wannabes. Not in his right mind and thinking about his statue, Hendrix was noticed by the two guys, where they invited him to a house where he'd be offered drugs. Hendrix was then tied up and forced to take more drugs. At the time, that may have worked out in Hendrix's favor, but the kidnappers didn't just wanted money, they wanted some of Jimi royalties. The kidnappers got a hold of Hendrix's manager and started demanding a piece of his recording contract. Roberts, the drug trafficker and hitman who got real close to Jimi, would heard the news. He stated during the interview, these guys were morons. It took me about 2 or 3 phone calls to get the names of the kids who had Jimi. I said, you touch Jimi, you're dead. Then they let him go. It only lasted a day or two. Roberts said, Jimi was so high he probably didn't even know he was kidnapped. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.